In China, everyone takes turns being a leek, and it'll be your turn tomorrow. People who are repeatedly exploited are called leeks on the Chinese web. The process of being exploited again and again is called cutting leeks, and the party that profits from cutting leeks is called the scythe. Now that the Chinese government is running out of money, it's wielding its scythe at the hospitals. You can't imagine how rich China's public hospitals are. For many of them, the objective is not to save lives, but to make more and more money. This woman describes how China's hospitals have grown rich over the past 20 years.
救护车一响，一年猪白养。
When an ambulance rings, pigs are raised for nothing for a year. If you stay in a hospital once, you will not be able to stay there again for another 3 years. If you collapse into a hospital bed, your cash will become less and less. After 10 years of hard work towards a well-off life, a major illness will ruin all your efforts. A lifetime of hard work are spent in just a few days in the hospital. For example, a senior saved 300,000 yuan or roughly $40,000 after a lifetime of frugality. He got sick and went to the hospital for treatment. A month later, he's left with only 89 yuan or $12. Another senior who can't afford the treatment has decided to run away from home for fear of burdening his family.
We often only see dance performances like the one below in shopping malls, but this is actually in a hospital. Are hospitals short of money so they use this method to solicit business? Or are they spending money where it shouldn't be spent? Recently, the Chinese government has embarked on a remarkable and unprecedented major anti-corruption campaign in the healthcare sector. The Central Commission for Discipline and Inspection, CCDI, the highest internal control institution of the CCP, and the National Supervisory Commission, NSC, the highest supervisory and anti-corruption authority of the People's Republic of China, held a mobilization and deployment conference on July 28th to launch a nationwide anti-corruption campaign in the medical field. It's said to intensify the efforts to enforce discipline and law and to launch an in-depth, systematic rectification of the entire medical and pharmaceutical industry. Local disciplinary and supervisory organs and the media have of course worked closely together to echo the central government's actions. How vigorous is this campaign against corruption? Almost every day there are reports of cadres in the healthcare system being arrested. Medical anti-corruption campaigns work in a mind-sweeping style. Medical institutions at all levels across all provinces are conducting self-corrective investigations from the bottom up, all the way to the frontline hospital units while setting up reporting systems at different places. For example, on August 1st, Shanghai formally implemented the whistleblowing reward measures. It offers a minimum reward of 5,000 yuan and a maximum reward of 1 million yuan. It encourages the public to report on the quality and safety of products like food and drugs, including medical devices and cosmetics and specialty equipment. Chinese media have reported that doctors have been reporting on each other and even couples who have turned against each other. For example, the headline of one news article reads, "A doctor in Shenzhen was reported by his wife for taking kickbacks and cheating on his wife, and the authorities stepped in to investigate." This is quite similar to what happened during the Cultural Revolution when husbands and wives reported on each other, and fathers and sons turned against each other in order to righteously eliminate kin for the sake of justice. Websites of the NSC and CCD mentioned, "We need to increase the enforcement efforts of discipline and law enforcement, focus on leading cadres and key position holders, insist on investigating those who take bribes and offer bribes together, and concentrate on cracking down on a number of cases of corruption in the field of healthcare and pharmaceuticals to create a deterrent effect." To be more specific, the so-called leading cadres and key position holders refer to the hospital presidents and party secretaries. According to incomplete statistics, as of July 26, 2023, at least 155 hospital presidents and secretaries have been investigated. Unlike previous anti-corruption campaigns, this one has undoubtedly set a new record in terms of depth, breadth, and intensity. The number is more than triple compared to the number of the entire year of 2022. It's interesting to note that some of the investigated officials have retired or been transferred to the government sector to take up positions. Over the course of 2023, several leading figures from well-known hospitals have been investigated after their retirement. In the briefings on them, bribery is mentioned. In the judgment of some hospital officials, the cited charges even include disloyalty and dishonesty to the party. The impact of the anti-corruption campaign is beyond hospitals. Numerous pharmaceutical companies have also become the target of rectification. In July alone, there have been 2 listed pharmaceutical companies whose real owners are being investigated. What is most shocking to the public is that this anti-corruption investigation will be looking back 20 years. Since 2003, Chinese hospitals have gradually introduced computerized systems for management, which means that all purchasing records and expenditure records can be accurately traced. The so-called backtracking for 20 years tactic will enable the CCP to catch more people it wants to purge. Through regular purging or reshuffling of officials from different parts of the country, the CCP solidifies its power and gains wealth. The anti-corruption campaign in the medical sector comes at a time when local finances are tight. It seems to be another attempt for money. Even if those under investigation are indeed corrupt, it's likely that the corrupt behaviors themselves were tacitly condoned or even encouraged by the CCP, the #1 corrupt party. Those people were targeted as it came time for them to be harvested and for the CCP to reap the rewards. At a time when governments at all levels across the nation are in a state of high indebtedness and local finances are bad, an extensive anti-corruption campaign in healthcare serves 3 purposes. First, it can bring in money by sanctioning people with corrupt behaviors. Second, it can replace people in important positions to achieve a power reshuffle. And third, it can build up a good image among the public. You may ask why hospitals in China are making incredible profits and what is at the root of this corruption. 20 years ago, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, China's market system was in its infancy. Most hospitals prior to the 1990s weren't converted to private hospitals yet, but they were losing money like state-owned enterprises. The then Premier Zhu Rongji tried to create an environment for hospitals to survive in society without relying on blood transfusion from government coffers. As a result, the income of hospitals was changed into 3 parts. One is reimbursement of patients' fees paid out of the Social Security Fund, instead of reimbursement from their workplaces, as was the case before. But the amount is small as China's Social Security Fund is limited. Secondly, the government would allocate some funding, although the amount is small as well. Thirdly, the main part is the out-of-pocket expenses hospitals charge patients. It means that the government requires public hospitals to perform in the public interest and to be financially self-sufficient. It's inherently contradictory. The lack of a regulatory system has allowed China's hospitals, which have been commercialized, to spiral out of control. Public hospitals are subject to even less supervision than enterprises because healthcare is a specialized field, and it's difficult for laymen to intervene in what's procured and how much it's worth. Therefore, the presidents and directors of major departments, who usually have triple identities of being an expert, a cadre in the system, and an executive of a large corporation, have powers but aren't easily scrutinized. They become the key targets of bribery and corruption. Although major hospitals have departments responsible for bidding and procurement with formal procedures, there is no external supervision or audit. The president and vice president in charge of procurement can easily make a lot of extra money. Another problem with public hospitals is that the tenure of hospital leaders is longer than that of government officials. The local health commission official has changed several times, but the hospital president may remain the same as a result of the expertise required in the organization. Corruption exists extensively in the medical sector, and it's widely criticized by the public. The main problems are that it's difficult and expensive to access a doctor. The value of health insurance has been devalued. The privileged class dominates medical resources. Only special party members have exclusive use of the high-ranking cadre's wards, and the general public has to resort to bribery to ensure patients receive fair and good treatments from the hospital.
这是什么输液室？
What kind of IV room is this? This is a single room.
这是单间儿。
Recently, the Chinese web has been flooded with reposts of a 10-year-old Weibo post published by the Securities Times. A former Vice Minister of Health revealed that in 2006, a survey by the Chinese Academy of Sciences (CAS) reported on the spending of leading cadres. It showed that 80% of the government's healthcare spending at the time was earmarked for party and government officials, and the spending was about 50 billion yuan, or US 7 billion annually. The public criticized that it was these millions of party cadres who made it difficult and expensive for Chinese people to see a doctor. China's public hospitals, which receive 10% of its funding from the government each year, are forced to operate as a self-sustaining entity that needs to survive. At the same time, many private hospitals have sprung up in China, again with few regulations and little oversight. In the process of commercializing the healthcare market, financial gain has gradually become the main focus of many doctors' work, leading to sharp tensions in the doctor-patient relationship. For example, in April 2023, the Chinese media exposed the enormous wealth of Chen Long, the chief cardiothoracic military surgeon in Nanjing. He owns several apartments, has stock accounts in Hong Kong with funds amounting to tens of millions of yuan. It's estimated that his personal assets may even exceed 10 million US dollars. Overseas Chinese media have reported that Dr. Chen Long is also suspected of harvesting organs from live humans. After 20 years of chaos, the image of Chinese doctors as white angels is hardly sustainable. This video shows a patient dying on the operating table at Wuhan Tongji Hospital. The hospital said it could not issue a death certificate, but only a discharge certificate. The discharge document states that the patient was to transfer for further treatment. The family is protesting in front of the hospital, and a large number of police come to ensure that they are kept quiet. The wording that was written said, "A human being is murdered. Give me back my son." The long-standing and growing problem of corruption in China's medical sector not only involves doctors, but also an extensive chain of interests involving pharmaceutical representatives, medicine suppliers, and many other parties. In hospitals, if doctors don't use specific drugs or consumables, it's difficult for pharmaceutical representatives to achieve their KPIs. Therefore, kickback sales of drugs and consumables have become an open secret in the industry. Of course, the hospital leaders take the lion's share of the corrupt money. So, this isn't a question of individual doctors' moral failures, but rather one that reveals the systemic loopholes and risks in the entire healthcare system in China. Since last year, China's economy started to decline. Not only is the government running out of money, but some hospitals are also running out of money. This has made some employees in the hospital system quite distressed. In recent years, defaults on wages owed to hospital employees have been reported time and again.
I'm here to report Suihua City People's Hospital in real name. It has been deducting and delaying the wages of the employees for years and verbally abusing them. I'm an average employee of the People's Hospital. I have worked here for 13 years. During the 13 years, the hospital has changed a total of 3 payroll cards. They can prove that in these 13 years, each year's salary has paid less than 12 months, and each year's salary is short of a few months, and no one knows what has happened to it after it has been withheld. It's now July 2023, and the money is still missing. Whenever I seek justice and help with the evidence, the dean calls the nursing department and related leaders to have a separate in-person talk with me. They were instructed by the dean to impose psychological pressure on me. Whenever I could not bear the mental pressure and financial hardship, I approached the dean and begged him to pay my salary on time and explained my financial hardship. But he shooed me away from the office to the hallway, insulting and abusing me. After scolding me, he told me that he had the money, he could do whatever he wanted, and I have no right to know. I was scared after he insulted me, and I don't understand why I don't have the right to know when I will be paid for my hard-earned money. Why don't I have the right to know why he owns my money? Why do I have to beg for the money I earned, and I have to be subjected to all sorts of insults? So where has all the money gone? We, the grassroots workers, have worked so hard for it. Why does the hospital have money? Why does the treasurer, who knows his secret, get 4 times the salary every month? Why then we, the real toiling people, don't even get the basic respect and salary? Doesn't your conscience hurt when you take our salaries and splurge when we don't have enough to survive and when our children can't afford school?
Here, doctors are holding banners to collect their salaries. This century-old hospital is in dire straits. It's been 3 months since employees got their merit fees, and they've only been paid their basic salaries. The doctors are spending their spare time defending their rights. The roles of leek and sickle are also mutually transformed at times. Patients in Chinese hospitals are leeks and hospitals are sickles. But now, in the eyes of the CCP, hospitals have become a field of leeks. Apart from hospitals being cut like leeks, drug suppliers and medical equipment distributors are hammered and crushed as well. The pharmaceutical industry is an important sector of the economy, and what's been done to the industry impacts the overall market. The recent medical anti-corruption campaign has already significantly impacted the pharmaceutical sector of the A-share market. It created quite a shakeup, causing share prices to fall sharply and market capitalization suffered tremendous pressure. Investors' confidence in the medical sector has been undermined too. There may be a deeper purpose behind this anti-corruption campaign. The CCP might want to yank the healthcare sector out of the market and bring it back under government control, in preparation for a possible planned economy in the future. This should also be the reason why this healthcare anti-corruption campaign is so intense and the investigation spans so long. In addition to the hundreds of corrupt leaders, a huge number of doctors have been affected. Doctors might have been asked to return the so-called illegal gains they have made over the years. But how can they return the money they have already spent on their children's tuition fees or the mortgage payments they must make to the banks? Surely the fundamental interests of the CCP cannot be touched. In the face of huge public outcry over the abolition of high-ranking cadres' wards, which are special resources designed for high-ranking party members, the state news agency Xinhua responded on August 10th that they can't be abolished and that an appropriate environment should be provided to those who have labored hard and made great achievements. That is to say, the current CCP's healthcare anti-corruption campaign doesn't change the red medical system in any fundamental way. Its destructive consequences of this style of leek cutting are also expected to manifest themselves very soon.